Let's talk some sports, baby.
And remember, make tomorrow better than today and make today better than yesterday. And you know what we gonna do. We gonna holler at you until next time, baby.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and move over to the NBA, where the offseason is in full swing. Wednesday night, the 2020 NBA draft commenced, and Georgia's Anthony Edwards left the board first overall to the Minnesota Timberwolves. The lottery trade talks mostly evaporated, as most top teams did keep their picks, but then down the board, we had trades and picks flying all over the place. In the end, the Warriors got their new big. Charlotte might have found its star, and maybe the Knicks didn't screw it up. So, what do you think, Drink? What pick stood out to you the most from the other night?
Well, first of all, let me start off. Let me give a shout out to these big wig networks, your ESPN, your Foxes, NBA TV, all these networks that knew who the hell all these guys was, because your boy didn't. I'm gonna keep it straight and funky. I'm gonna get straight to the point. Here's the deal. I only knew 4 of these guys. I heard of more of these guys, but I only knew of 4. If 4 of these guys were standing in front of me, I could say, "Oh, okay, you're Anthony Edwards. You're LaMelo Ball. You're James Wiseman. You're Obi Toppin." The rest of these guys, I could tell you play basketball. You're kind of tall, kind of girthy. I mean, like that. That's how I would have to do it. So I'm sorry if I don't have quite the information that we're supposed to have on this segment. But hey, don't blame me. Blame COVID-19, because that's what messed it up. Because a lot of these guys I would have been seeing play in the NCAA tournament, or they would have been able to promote themselves a little more. But hey, you want me to know who this guy is over an iPad or iPhone? I'm sorry, you gotta do a little better than that. To get back to your question, the pick that stood out to me most would have to be LaMelo Ball. Listen, he was by far the most polarizing guy in this draft, and it wasn't even close. Where he went, I wanted to see where he went, because I didn't think he was a good fit for the Timberwolves. And I think because of the path that he took to get to this point, I thought he had to go to a specific team. Why not go to the Hornets, with a guy that knows what it feels like to be polarizing in the NBA, with the owner Michael Jordan. If it's one guy that understands that position, it's him. So I was very interested in seeing that. Overall, I thought the top 3 picks was your 3 best options of the draft, and I thought they went according to those teams. Anthony Edwards, he was a guy that we heard a lot. We didn't see a whole lot of success out of Georgia, but it was a guy we heard of a lot. So he was one of the few guys. You had James Wiseman. The dude played 3 games, but I want to say he made the show on numerous occasions with all the other stuff that came with that. So I knew he was just by name. And like I told you, LaMelo Ball, well, I was more interested in seeing what LeVar Ball had to say during the draft than, I thought he was going to come out there with some of his shenanigans and doing what he do. Now I guess we finally get to see the LeVar versus Michael Jordan one-on-one game, since he said he can go out there and dog him. Now I want to see it, since your son now show up to the arena and let's roll, baby. Let's see. So with all that said, in a nutshell, quick, fast, to the point, where LaMelo Ball stood was very interesting to me. And my boy Kyra Lewis, the point guard from Alabama, I'm glad to see he got drafted pretty high. He was a lottery pick, so that bodes well for our prospect in Alabama basketball. But yeah, that was it for me, man. Straight to the point. Holla at your boy.
Yeah, just to give an example to kind of how I describe it as this overall an underwhelming NBA draft. Let's go to Chicago, and the number 4 overall pick, Patrick Williams, out of Florida State. Had nothing against this guy. I think he's probably going to be a solid NBA player. But think about this: Williams in his final season at Florida State. This is courtesy of ESPN Stats and Info. 9.2 points per game in his final Florida State season. In the shot clock era of college basketball, which dates back to 1985, he's the first top 5 pick to average under 10 points a game in his final season. I think that's just a remarkable stat to just demonstrate, how underwhelming this draft was. I think Drink's right. We all kind of knew there were kind of 3 guys jockeying for that number 1 overall pick, with Edwards, Wiseman, and LaMelo Ball. But outside of that, there was some interesting guys. I mean, a name like Obi Toppin comes to mind. But part of the issue, and if you recall, we discussed this a little bit with Mike Babcock. Some of these guys, these international guys, we just don't have a lot of awareness on them because we just don't see them. And then you combine that with the fact of coronavirus canceling the NCAA tournament, which is kind of it can be a coming out party for guys like think of Ja Morant. What he was able to do in the NCAA tournament in the last year vaulted him up the draft boards all the way to the number 2 overall pick. So that's kind of maybe what we're telling you is, in the end, some of these guys. I mean, if you look at what the Cleveland Cavaliers and Atlanta Hawks did, you kind of be somewhat confused. But I mean, we don't have the scouts that these teams do. Flying over internationally, seeing what's going on with them. But I will say some of the and a couple of interesting ones I found. I like Philly at the 21st pick, taking Tyrese Maxey out of Kentucky. If you recall, seems like ages ago, but on opening night of college basketball, we looked at Kentucky, and Tyrese Maxey the whole night. He was the one guy that really stood out. Looked like he had that it factor. Made a lot of clutch plays down the stretch of that game. So I think, and you look at Philly and what they really need. Perimeter shooting, something that they could probably use. We'll cover this a little bit later, most likely, but Josh Richardson out of there. So really, when you look at Ben Simmons in that backcourt, and now maybe you can rotate Shake Milton plus Tyrese Maxey. I mean, that could be a nice little rotation for them. And also, I know one of the things we've been looking at is Milwaukee and some of the moves they've been making, and then wondering how exactly are they going to fill out this roster. Well, perhaps one of those answers they could have found in the second round with Louisville's Jordan Nwora, preseason ACC Player of the Year candidate, and ended up finishing second to Trey Jones, but first team All ACC, third team All America. Really a guy that really improved dramatically during his time with the Cardinals, and he could be a nice rotation piece. And think about it, Milwaukee has been able to do this recently, where they pull some late round magic. Some names like Pat Connaughton and Dante DiVincenzo, really under the radar guys like them come to mind. So perhaps when we're looking at how they fill out that roster, that could be a guy on the cheap that could get some meaningful rotation minutes for them.
Yeah, like I said, this draft had a really interesting air to it because it was just there was such an uncertainty around it. I think what happened is, I kind of alluded to it in the lead-in, but I think every team, like in the top 4, was really trying to make trades. Like there was so much trade talk and packages, and the second overall pick in the Warriors when this guy for this other dude or something like that. They were, I think teams were heavily exploring. I think most of all the Timberwolves were. But then nothing really materialized. So then come draft night, where we expected all these fireworks, the lottery just kind of rolled down the list. Teams just took their dude and they just moved on. And that was that. But then afterwards is when you saw all the trades and stuff start. And then it's like impossible to follow past pick 15. But another zoom out thing that was interesting is, you guys notice no Kansas, no Duke, no North Carolina, no Kentucky in the lottery? None of the like our blue bloods that we would just always expect to be pouring talent in. Is that a symptom of just the draft and the times, or is it kind of a sign of things coming along? I don't know. Those schools had guys drafted later on, but they weren't in the lottery. Would you expect to see them? So that was definitely an interesting point. If you look at the top, a couple of quick hits. Anthony Edwards, number 1. Does seem like he's going to fit well with D'Angelo Russell and Karl Anthony Towns. But my question is really his commitment to basketball. There's been a lot of talk about him not really getting back on defense and kind of not being crazy about basketball and not really being like super committed. And sometimes that's just pre-draft smoke, is all that is. But I think the concerns could be legitimate, and they did just sign Malik Beasley now, so that's going to be a crowded backcourt, so they'll have to figure that one out. But James Wiseman, I thought, was a good pick for the Warriors, especially after the Klay Thompson news. If they're trying to win this year, that was the best pick. If they wanted the best long-term option, they could have took LaMelo Ball for the more of the star power down the road. But the Warriors, again, we know they're not supposed to be picky here. It's just kind of the way it worked out. So they're going to get a someone that fills a role that they don't normally fill. Like normally the Warriors centers, whoever happens to be 7 foot in the building that day. And then, okay, you're playing center. Come on, dude. So now they've actually got a real long-term answer there. I think Ball he could be a star in this league, and Charlotte needs that star power. And another team that needs it is the Knicks. I think that Obi Toppin can provide that. They just need talent. They need star power. They need something good to happen. And, he could be. Now, the Knicks haven't signed any of their first-round picks since 2000 or whatever, so, see how it goes. But they got some time. And shout out to Florida State, since we are a basketball school now, 2 lottery picks in Patrick Williams and Devin Vassell. I don't know if y'all heard, but that's what we're doing now. That's the excuse we're going with. So good stuff there. But yeah, the last thing I'll have is Boston. They had a bunch of picks come into this draft, and a lot of people thought they were going to package those and move up, and they never did. Again, like last couple of years, all right, Boston got all these picks. What are they going to do? And then they don't really do much anything. They just draft some players and move on with their life. But Aaron Nesmith from was it Vanderbilt? I remember. Yeah, Vanderbilt, I'm sorry. Quite the sharpshooter. Shot like 52% or something his last season. I mean, just a ludicrous shooting percentage. And putting a really good shooter in that rotation, especially with the likely departure of Gordon Hayward now, that's going to be a good pickup. So it looks like they found a guy that probably shouldn't have been there by 14, but he just kind of slipped down the board. And once again, Boston gets lucky. So we'll see where they're going to put all these players and what they can do with them.